Moving to Colorado can be overwhelming in general, but moving in 2022 is a whole different ball game. Colorado has so much to offer to so many people, but where is the right place to live? Where is a good place to bring your family? Or even where is the most affordable place? Where can you afford? Well, that's exactly what this video is for. Let's get started. All right, hi there, I'm Christy Lee, and if you are new to my channel, all of my videos are catered to help you move to Colorado or move within Colorado if you already live here. I am a local real estate agent, but more importantly, I am a native of Colorado, and I absolutely love this state, and I love helping people move here. So as much as I love making these videos, I love hearing from you even more. So please make sure that you do reach out to me anytime if you have any questions regarding the areas that I'm talking about or the market or anything like that. As well as remember to click that subscribe button right there because I do post new videos every single week. So I want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you need. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about moving to Colorado in 2022. And I'm going to be talking about the top 5 locations that I think that you should actively consider if you're moving here. Because I mean, Colorado has, like I said, a lot to offer, and it's just growing so rapidly, and it's getting extremely expensive in a lot of different places. So I want to make sure you're making the best decision for you. All right, let's get started. So my number 1, or my first choice, in no particular order, I'm not going to lie. I mean, they're just kind of random, but they are. My first one that I want to talk about is Fort Collins, and I have several videos on Fort Collins. So there's a lot of reasons why I absolutely love Fort Collins. But it should be on your list because the affordability. So Fort Collins is located about 1 hour north of Denver, and the affordability for Fort Collins for a house is considerably less than Denver as a whole. So to kind of put this in perspective, Fort Collins average price point for just under, at the end of 2021 was hovering right around that $500,000 price point. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what part of Fort Collins you're living in, but it is about $150,000 less than the average of Denver in 2021. So that's significantly different, obviously. Fort Collins is also home to Colorado State University. So, you're going to have a lot of college students up there. So, whether or not you like that or not, I don't know, but it does gravitate towards a lot younger population. The average age in Fort Collins is going to be about 29. So you will have the young professionals. You're going to have a lot of young families with younger kiddos roaming around. So it's just very just a younger population. I mean, that's just the best way to do it. Also, a really cool thing about Fort Collins is that it is home of 70% of Colorado's breweries. So if you like micro beers, head up to Fort Collins. You're never going to run out. I mean, that's exactly what they're known for. They have a lot of parks out there. So if you're an active person, you love being outside, playing with your dog or riding your bike or whatever that might be, Fort Collins is huge into their outdoor activities. You're going to have a lot of lakes out there as well. So Horsetooth reservoirs out there, amongst other ones that are going to be in Loveland, which is just south of Fort Collins. And then you're going to have quite a few up in Cheyenne, which is just north of Fort Collins. So Fort Collins as a whole, I think you should really definitely consider it, mainly because it's still small. It's growing rapidly. So, I mean, they've increased their population over the last 10 years, about 35,000 people. But I say that because if you could still get in now, if you invest now, then you're going to get something, on that lower price point. So then once everybody starts moving there even more over the next few years, you're going to have, bought in a house at a great price point and had a great investment from the very beginning. So there you go. Fort Collins, huge, great option if you're moving to Colorado. All right, so number 2 on my list is going to be Denver. So obviously, if you're thinking about moving to Colorado, most likely you're already doing your research and you're looking into Denver anyways. But why is it a good option? So the main reason right now is just because there's a lot of great things that are going on for Denver. Obviously, it's growing off the charts. It's crazy, crazy, crazy just with the growth that it has. But there's a lot of job opportunities within Denver. And that's why people are gravitating to Colorado in general, is because we have a lot of job opportunities out here. Denver, though, where it's located is just so centrally located for everything that you want to do. So if you move to Denver, you still have great access to head up to the mountains. So if you're a biker, skier, camper, whatever, you could get out to the mountains really quickly within an hour or so, depending on traffic, of course. And then also, if you are an active traveler, like maybe you have to go to the airport all the time for work or whatever, DIA is only going to be about 30 minutes away from you as well. Plus, we do have the light rail that'll take you all the way into DIA as well. So you actually don't even necessarily need a car if you're going to be living in Denver, because our public transportation system within Denver has gotten so much better definitely over the last 10 years. So, I mean, there's just no real need to have a car, because you could get to DIA, you could get to the mountains. There's plenty of shuttles and stuff like that that'll get you to the mountains. I mean, that's probably going to cost you a lot more money. But I mean, it's there for you. What I also love about Denver is that even though you are within the city, there's so many parks. There's a lot of parks that you could go to, like little ponds. There's bike trails all over the place in Denver. And while the cost of living is getting up there for sure, like I mentioned with when I was talking about Fort Collins, the average price point for Denver, you're looking right around $750,000, which, yes, I mean, that is pretty expensive, but to no different than anywhere else. I mean, you're going to have definitely a lot higher price point in some areas. If you go into the Cherry Creek area, it's going to be a lot higher, but you could get it lower as well. So if you're not looking for that mansion or anything like that, you can find something lower. You just have to be careful of the locations within those places. There's plenty of condos and townhomes located within these areas as well. And then you're just going to have a different type of lifestyle. So if you're somebody who moves to Denver, most likely you're going to be a professional of some sort, a business professional of some sort, or you just actively like to live in the downtown area. You have to be used to like a lot of people and a lot of traffic, and that's something that you're just really gravitate towards. Then I would definitely go down to Denver, because you have your sports and you have your concerts, and the bars and the clubs and all of that kind of stuff are happening all the time. So that's the type of person you are. Head down there, rent. You could rent in Denver too if you can't afford to, purchase a house or condo at this time. You could definitely rent. Rentals are going to be going up just like everything else in Colorado, or even nationwide for that matter. But I mean, you could still get a decent apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, for right around maybe $1,500, depending on where you're at. So that's something to think about as well. So number 3 on my list is actually going to be Colorado Springs. So Colorado Springs is actually located an hour south of Denver. And what I really like about the Springs is the cost of living as well. So, I mean, it's just going to be complete opposite of like Fort Collins, okay? So you're going to be quite a bit less than Denver, just like Fort Collins was, about $115,000 less than Denver. So you're going to get a lot more house. And you're going to be a lot more spread out than Denver. What I love about the Springs is the amazing beauty that it has down there. So if you're somebody who loves the outdoors and wants to live close to the foothills, and yes, I mean, Denver, you have the mountains too, but it's just like a whole different ball game when you're down in the Springs, because you have Pikes Peak is right there and you could actively climb it. I mean, it's like right there. Manitou Springs is right there as well. So a lot of people utilize that and climb the incline. So that's a huge deal down there. So if you're somebody who likes the outdoors, again, definitely go to Colorado Springs, because you have so many of these outdoor activities right there. The only problem though with Colorado Springs though is if you are a skier or snowboarder or anything like that, you are going to be quite a bit farther from the ski resorts than you would Denver. So just kind of keep that in mind. You do have Wolf Creek, which is going to be south of Colorado Springs. And I mean, you can get into Breck, but it will take you a little bit longer than it would maybe Denver. So just kind of keep that in mind if you are an active person who goes up to the mountains quite a bit in the wintertime. One thing I also love about Colorado Springs is that it's definitely known for their aerospace jobs, and they're a big military town. So you have Lockheed Martin is down there, Boeing is down there, and then you obviously have the military down there. So you have Fort Carson down there, Fort Carson and the Air Force, the Air Force Academy is down there as well. So you're going to have a lot of that kind of environment. One thing I will say about Colorado Springs opposed to Denver, and pretty much Fort Collins too, is that it's definitely going to be a little bit more conservative than some of the other, cities around Denver. So just, depending on where your views are politically, just note that if you're thinking about moving there. But the Springs has just so many things to offer, and mainly the biggest thing is price point, and it's always been less than Denver. So I used to live down there for several years, a few years back. And I mean, it's great. Like I said, if you're somebody who loves the outdoors, it's cheaper as cost of living, but you will have traffic down there. So do keep that in mind too. Not nearly as much as Denver, but there's a lot of construction on I-25 right around the hub of Colorado Springs. So you're going to be coming through Monument, you're driving through Colorado Springs down to Pueblo, and there's just a lot of traffic and construction within that area. So just kind of note that if you're living down there, or if you don't like traffic, it's not going to be nearly as bad as being in the heart of Denver, by no means. But just something to keep in mind if it's, a possibility and maybe on your radar. Okay, so number 4 on my list, and it is kind of an odd one to a lot of people, but I do want to add Greeley on my list for great places to live in Colorado. And Greeley is going to be northeast of Denver, about an hour and 20 minutes. So it's kind of up there with Fort Collins, but east of Fort Collins. Greeley has UNC, so University of Northern Colorado, up there as well, that college up there. What makes Greeley kind of appealing to me is because it's never been that cool, and I'm going to be honest about that. Again, native of Colorado, never thought anything about Greeley. But when you see it into a different perspective and see how much northern Colorado is actively growing, and everything along the I-25 corridor heading north up to Wyoming is just booming. Everybody's wanting to move north because Denver as a whole is kind of exploding, right? And the only places that we really have to go is north and northeast. Well, that leaves you Greeley. So Greeley is kind of now starting to show its, signs of growth. And what's really cool about that is that the house prices right now are so significantly less than Denver, and even less than Fort Collins, that the amount of house you can get is incredible. I think the average house price at the end of 2021 was right around $450,000. So that's huge when you're thinking about the potential money you could be making in the future. So if you get in now, you're going to be making a lot more money as equity in your home just over, the appreciation of your house just over the next few years, just because people are going to naturally gravitate north. Greeley and UNC is known for renewable energy, gas and oil industries. So you have a lot of that. It is Weld County, so that's kind of what they're known for as well up in that area. You're going to have the distilleries and the breweries in that area too. So you still do have that kind of environment, kind of like the Fort Collins, but it's just not nearly as big. One thing that is not great about Greeley, in my opinion, is that honestly it stinks, because it smells like cows. And so my husband would say it smells like money. Well, I think it just smells like cows. So just kind of note that, if you're living in Greeley, you probably are used to it. You probably don't even smell it anymore. But for me, like, it just stinks because it is just the agricultural part of the city. You know, there's a lot of cows and horses and, you know, farms and stuff like that up in that area just because that's how it's always been. Now that it's growing, you're gonna have a lot more shopping and restaurants and, just the growth of it, but you still will have all that stuff. But I definitely highly think that you should keep Greeley on your radar. Even if you don't want to move there, you specifically, but if you want to invest there, now is the time to actively look into Greeley because their prices are so low and it would just be, a perfect opportunity to come snag something up and then make some money for the future. Okay, and my final suggestion of moving to Colorado in 2022 would be Grand Junction. So Grand Junction is going to be far west off of I-70, so I think it's about 3 hours west of Denver, 2.5 to 3 hours west of Denver. But I do want to mention it just because it is a place that's actively growing. And you are going to live in a very gorgeous spot, and the cost of living is going to be significantly less than anything else I've even talked about. So average price point in Grand Junction in 2021 was right around the mid 300s. Okay. So you're going to get a lot of house for a lot less money. That being said, though, it is a very, very small community. So you have to kind of know that. You have to know that you're going into a very small area. If that's not your vibe, Grand Junction will not work. I feel like the only time Grand Junction ever gets super busy is going to be during Country Jam. And that's like a whole week long or 4 days long of a huge concert. That's when all the people come. One thing that Grand Junction is known for, complete opposite of Fort Collins, is going to be Grand Junction's known for their winery. So they have a lot of wineries down there, which is really cool. If you want to go out there and check all that out. Palisade Peaches, they're going to be near that area as well. So you're going to have a lot of wineries in Palisade as well. So I definitely think you should check out Grand Junction, especially if you're somebody who likes being around like mountains and scenery, but not have all the hustle and bustle of the city life. So you are like literally right there in the heart of the mountains. Great affordability, very low key, population is very small, but something that maybe, the jobs are still there, but maybe it's going to be more for somebody who wants to be in that mountain kind of field, but maybe you work from home. Maybe that's the option you're going to go if you live in Grand Junction. So anyways, that's my top 5 places I think you should at least consider if you're moving to Colorado in 2022. Again, I am Christy Lee. Please reach out to me anytime if you have any questions regarding any of these cities or anything else I've ever talked about. If there's something else you'd like me to talk about in general, please let me know. Put a comment down there. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way. And to the next video, take care.